Shalom and welcome to Hebrew Bible Secrets. We are reading from the book of Mathew and we continue with chapter 11. Chapter 11 verse 1. And it came to pass, when Yahushua had made an end of commanding his 12 disciples, he departed there to teach and to proclaim in their cities. 2. Now when Yochanan, John, had heard in the prison the works of Messiah, he sent 2 of his disciples. 3. And said to him, Are you he that should come, or do we look for another? 4. Yahushua answered and said to them, Go and show Yochanan, John, again those things which you heard and see. 5. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk, and lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the Basura preached to them. 6. And blessed will be he, whosoever shall not be offended in him. 7. And as they departed, Yahushua began to say to the multitudes concerning Yochanan, John, What did you go to see in the wilderness? A reed shaken with the wind? 8. And what did you go to see? A man clothed in fine clothing? Behold, they that wear fine clothing are among kings. 9. But what did you go to see? A prophet? Yes, I say to you, and more than a prophet. 10. For this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before your face, which shall prepare your way before you. 11. Verily I say to you, among them that are born of women, there has not risen a greater man than Yochanan, John, the immerser, notwithstanding he that is least in the kingdom of Shamayim is greater than he. 12. And from the days of Yochanan, John, the immerser, until now the kingdom of Shamayim is administered by force, and the violent rule it senselessly. 13. For all the prophets and the Torah prophesied the days of Yochanan, John. 14. And if you will receive it, this is the likeness of Eliyahu, Elijah, which was to come. 15. He that has ears to hear, let him hear. 16. But whereunto shall I liken this generation? It is like to children sitting in the markets and calling to their fellows. 17. And saying, We have played the flutes to you, and you have not danced. We have mourned to you, and you have not lamented. 18. For Yochanan, John, came neither eating nor drinking, and they say, He has a demon. 19. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, Behold, a man glutton and a drunk, a friend of tax collectors and sinners, but wisdom is justified by her deeds. 20. Then he began to reproach the cities, wherein most of his mighty works were done, because they repented not. 21. Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the mighty works which were done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago in sackcloth and ashes. 22. But I say to you, it shall be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon at the day of judgment than for you. 23. And you, Kafar Nakum, which exalts to Shamayim, shall be brought down to Sheol. For if the mighty works which have been done in you had been done in Sidon, it would have remained until this day. 24. But I say to you, that it shall be more tolerable for the land of Sidon in the day of judgment than for you. 25. At that time Yahushua answered and said, I thank you, O Av, Master, Adam, Lord, of the Shamayim and the earth, because you have hid these things from the wise and prudent, and have revealed them to little children. 26. Even so, Av, for so it seemed good in your sight. 27. All things are given to me from my Av, and no man knows the Son but the Av, neither knows any man the Av, except the Son, and he to whomsoever the Son will reveal him. 28. Come to me, all you that labour and are heavy laden, and I will give ye rest. 29. Take my yoke upon ye, and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest to your souls. 30. For my yoke is easy, and my burden is light. So they bring this now to the end of chapter 11, and we shall have a look at the footnotes for chapter 11. Okay, so the first footnote we have is in verse 5. The blind receive their sight, and the lame walk. The lepers are cleansed, and the deaf hear. The dead are raised up, and the poor have the Basura preached to them. So let's have a look at this word, Basura. Okay. The teachings of Torah to the nations of Israel, as in Exodus. You can look at footnotes for Hebrews 4 and 2. So Hebrews 4 and 2, we have, For to us was the Basura proclaimed, just as to them. But the word proclaimed did not profit them, since they did not join in with those who heard it by faith. Okay, let's have a look at this word. We've got a footnote here for to us was the Basura proclaimed, just as to them. Okay, so 5 we have here. From this, it is evident that the good news is not some 2 lines of gospel truth, but the Torah which was preached to the Israelites after they came out of Egypt. But they did not keep or obey the words of Yahweh. And so it has been offered here to the house of Israel to do what the earlier ones refused to do in the desert. The word gospel and evangelize are both derived words, but in essence they really mean to preach and teach the Torah of Moses. But many in the churches are devoid of this truth, so they are not really preaching the gospel, but redefining their own new gospel by presenting Yahushua as if he had nothing to do with the Torah. So, as you can see, I was talking about here just going right back to the commandments and keeping the Torah. That were given, the first 5 books of Moses that was given, and the oral Torah. The Basura is the Torah, the first 5 books, and the oral Torah, which is obviously, which was passed down from father to son, generation to generation. Okay, so let's look at the next footnote. In verse 8, and what did you go to see? A man clothed in fine clothing? Behold, they that wear fine clothing are among kings. So let's have a look at this. Among kings. The correct word is among in Aramaic, not houses. Okay. So obviously some other readings have houses, but here we have the correct saying, which is among. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 10. For this is he of whom it is written, Behold, I send my messenger before your face, which shall prepare your way before you. So let's have a look at this. So we have the prophecy is from Malachi 3 and 1. Yochanan is not Elijah, but in the likeness. Eliyahu will come also. However, Yahushua was the one with healing in his wings. Okay, so let's have a quick look at Malachi 3 and 1, just to see what we can get from Malachi 3 and 1. Okay, Malachi 3 and 1. 1. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. And the master whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the Malak of the covenant, whom you delight in. Behold, he shall come, says Yahweh of armies. Okay, so there you have it, Malachi 3 and 1. So let's go to the next footnote, verse 12. And from the days of Yochanan, John, the immerser, until now the kingdom of Shemayim is administered by force, and the violent rule it senselessly. Okay, let's have a look at this word, senselessly. Occupation by Rome and having its own puppet regime of unregenerate men. Okay, so next footnote after that is in verse 13. For all the prophets and the Torah prophesied the days of Yochanan. Okay, so let's have a look at this word, days. There is no word until in the text. It was inserted by Torah-hating Gentiles. Okay, so that word until doesn't belong there. For all the prophets and the Torah prophesies the days of Yochanan. Okay, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 15. And he that has ears to hear, let him hear. Okay, so we have let him hear. Let's have a look at this. So Yahushua is taking us back to the Shema Israel in Deuteronomy 6:4. If you have ears, then go back and obey the Torah. Okay, so we know Deuteronomy is talking about the love for Yahweh and returning and keeping his commandments. Okay. Alright, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 18. For Yochanan came neither eating nor drinking, and they say he was a demon. Okay, let's have a look at this word, demon. When people are against us, this is the accusation that is made, which is both baseless and untrue. Okay, so I think that's fairly explanatory. So let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 19. The Son of Man came eating and drinking, and they say, behold, a glutton and a drunk, a friend of tax collectors and sinners. But wisdom is justified by her deeds. So let's have a look at this, deeds. The idiomatic expression to mean how stupid are these people who think they are wise, because Hokmah, mother wisdom, is the mother, the feminine side of Yahweh, and her children would be wise if they had wisdom from above. But these people have worldly wisdom. The Greek word is mistranslated, while the Aramaic has the translation of deeds, which is correct. So deeds, obviously, it's another way of saying, keeping Torah commandments. Deeds. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which we have in verse 23. And you, Kafarnakum, which exalts to Shamayim, shall be brought down to Sheol. Okay, let's have a look at this word Sheol. So, it's saying here, let's go back to Luke 16:20. Okay, let's have a look at Luke 16:20. Let's read it. Luke 16:20. And there was a certain beggar named Lazarus, which was laid at his gate, full of sores. 21. And desiring to be fed with the crumbs which fell from the rich man's table. Moreover, the dogs came and licked his sores. So let's have a look at this word sores. In the analogy, the beggar is Judah, who is treated with shame and contempt all over the world. The world does not like the Hebrew people and killed them wherever they could find them, while Yahweh has them in his hands. We find the world mostly ending up in the wicked sections of Sheol, like the rich man, while Judah is in Abraham's bosom. So those who hate Judah and hate the 12 tribes of Israel, who are people of colour, will be going to Sheol. So that's what we're talking about here. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 25. At that time, Yahushua answered and said, I thank you, O Av, Master, Adon, Lord, of the Shamayim and the earth, because you have hid these things from the wise and the prudent. So let's have a look at this word, prudent. The attributes of the kingdom. The Sephirotic tree is hidden to most people, and they have no understanding of it. Okay, so let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 28. Come to me, all you that labour and are heavy laden, and I will give ye rest. Okay, so let's have a look at this footnote for rest. So here we have Yahushua challenges us to take his Torah upon ourselves, to free us from slavery. However, it is not his Torah, but Yahweh's. Okay, so Torah is freedom. Okay, so you have to understand, to have Torah is to be free, from the world's way, so to speak, yeah. Within Torah is freedom. Okay, so this is what Yahushua is telling you now, Take it upon yourselves to be free from slavery. So, let's go to the next footnote, which is in verse 29. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and you shall find rest to your souls. Okay, let's have a look at this. Rest to your souls. So here we have Yahushua directs us back to the scriptures. The verse in Jeremiah 6:16, which is back to Torah. These are the ancient paths to find our rest, which is rescue through the Torah, completely opposite to what Christendom teaches. The next statement is what Judaism teaches, and we agree. The yoke of Torah, Rabbi Nechaniah ben Ha-Quana said, he who takes the yoke of Torah on himself shall have lifted from himself the yoke of kingdom and the yoke of the world's way. But he who takes the yoke of Torah off himself shall find laid on himself the yoke of kingship and the yoke of the world's way. And that's from Mishnah Avoth 3.5 or 3.5. Okay, with that, let's have a look at Jeremiah 6 and 16 and just go back to that just to see what the prophet Jeremiah was saying also. Jeremiah 6 6 and 16. Thus says Yahweh, stand in the ways and look intently, and make inquiry for the ancient paths, where the good way is, and walk in it. Then you will find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk in it. Okay, so let's have a look at, we've got some footnotes here. So stand in the ways. We have, the way here is Torah. Okay, keeping the commandments, stand in the ways. Okay, the next footnote we have here is, and make inquiry for the ancient paths. Okay, the ancient paths. The idea behind the Hebrew word is these paths are tried and tested and never failed. Meaning Torah is our way to freedom and rescue. The written Torah leads to salvation. So if you want salvation, if you want rest for your souls, if you want to come out of slavery, return back to the commandments. This is what, Jeremiah 6 and 16 is all about. Returning back to the ancient paths, which is keeping the commandments. Okay? And then we have where the good way is. Okay, let's have a look at this good way. So, which is the Torah. Torah is the good way. This is what Yahshua, Jesus, is telling, the people. Return back to the good way, the Torah, keep the commandments, and walk in it. So we have here also walk in it, which is keep the commandments. So, those churches, who are not keeping the commandments, they're not doing as Jeremiah 6 and 16 is telling you to do, what Yahweh is telling you to do, what Yahushua, Jesus, is telling you to do, is telling you to return back to the commandments. That's the good way. That's what the Father wants his people to do, or those who want to obey his word do. They return back to the commandments. Okay, and we have also, then you will find rest for your souls. So rest, we have rescue. To have rescue is to be in the hand of Yahweh, to be in God's hands. Yeah? Rest means that you're going to be in the kingdom, so to speak, because you're keeping the commandments. That's rest. It's like the burden's lifted from you. You know where you're going to end up, rather than those who have no idea of where their souls are going to go after they die. Because obviously, if you have the Torah, then the outcome, so to speak. And then we have but they said, we will not walk in it. Okay, so we have here, many Christians have said they will not walk in Torah, just like Israel rebelled. So that's what we have here. We have the churches who are saying, but we will not walk in it. So this is what it's talking about here. But they said, we will not walk in it. So, you can't expect to be in the kingdom if you're not keeping the commandments. This is what it means to walk in it. And if you're not keeping the commandments, then obviously you can't be in the kingdom. It's as simple as that. So, this now brings us to the end of chapter 11, and I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you on the other side. Thank you for watching. This is Rabbi Beaton saying thank you for watching, and shalom shalom.